In this lesson, we are going to look at two very common places where you would actually deal with scale drawings. One of them is blueprints and one of them is maps. So a blueprint, any of the trades. If you're a contractor or someone who's head of a job and you're pricing out things for a job, you are going to look at a blueprint. You are going to determine what the actual measurements are of the diagram, and then you can determine how much material you are actually going to need. So this is a floor plan of an apartment, and it's drawn with a scale of 1 to 180. We want to determine what the actual dimensions are of bedroom 1. So if we look here, first dimension of bedroom 1 is 2 centimeters. Remember, scale drawings are always the drawing to the actual. And it was 1 to 180. The first dimension here is 2 centimeters. So we want to find what the actual dimension of that bedroom is. 1 times x is 1x. 180 times 2 is 360. Because it's 1x, we do not have to divide. So the first dimension is 360 centimeters. The second dimension is 2.1. So 1 to 180 is our scale. The measurement on the diagram is 2.1. We want to find the actual measurement. So 1 times x is 1x. 180 times 2.1 is 378. So it's 378 centimeters. So the dimensions of the actual bedroom are 360 centimeters by 378 centimeters. This would then help a contractor determine how much material they might need in that bedroom. So what are the actual dimensions of bedroom 2? We do the same work. We have our drawing to our actual. The scale is 1 to 180. The first dimension is 2.2 centimeters, and we want to find the actual dimension. 1 times x is 1x. 180 times 2.2 is 396, so it's 396 centimeters. The second dimension of that bedroom is 2.3, so it's 1 to 180, 2.3 centimeters. How many centimeters is the actual? 1 times x is 1x. 180 times 2.3 is 414, so it's 414 centimeters. So the dimension of that second bedroom is 396 centimeters by 414 centimeters. So these kind of calculations are done regularly by contractors of various trades. The second place that we can see a scale diagram is on a map. Now a map will have a legend. This one has two different legends. One of them is in miles, one of them is in kilometers. So what you need to do is you need to determine what is that scale. So we put our ruler up here, and we can see that 2 centimeters is 200 miles. So again, remember, drawing to actual. So on the drawing, 2 centimeters is 200 miles. So the drawing to the actual, 2 centimeters is 200 miles. We want to know the distance from Manta to Loja. So Manta to Loja, you're going to take a ruler and you're going to find the distance between Manta and Loja. You are going to measure that in centimeters. You are going to find that it's 2.3 centimeters. So then we want to figure out how many miles that is. So 2 times x is 2x. 200 times 2.3 is 460. Solve for x, so we are going to divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we get 230 miles. That is how far apart Manta and Loja are. Now it says how many miles is it from Quito to Loja? So you find Quito and Loja, and you take a ruler and you measure that distance. Again, our scale is 2 centimeters is 200 miles. When you measure that distance, you will get that it's 2.6 centimeters on the map. So we can determine how many miles it is. 2 times x is 2x. 200 times 2.6 is 520. We want to isolate the x, so we divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we end up with x equals 260 miles. Now, in the next two questions, you will see that it asks how many kilometers. The scale we were using in the previous two were the miles. So we go back here to the legend, and the kilometers is the bar below. So you'd go back and you would measure, and you would get that 1.2 centimeters is 200 kilometers. So that is the scale we are going to use down here. 1.2 centimeters on the map is 200 kilometers. And we want to measure from Husia to Esmeraldas. So you would need to find the distance between those two cities. You are going to measure it in centimeters. And what you are going to find out is that the distance is 2.7 centimeters on the map. So the drawing to the actual, 1.2 centimeters is 200 kilometers. It is 2.7 centimeters when you measure that distance on the map. We will determine how many kilometers. 1.2 times x is 1.2x. 200 times 2.7 is 540. Isolate the x by dividing by 1.2. So you are left with x equals 450 kilometers. And the last one we're going to do is the same thing from Manto to Quinto. So you go back up, Manto to Quinto. You take your ruler and you determine how many centimeters that distance is. You are going to find out it's 1.6 centimeters. So remember, drawing to actual. On the drawing, it was 1.2 centimeters for 200 kilometers. When we measure the distance from Manto to Quinto, we get 1.6 centimeters. We want to determine how many kilometers. 1.2 times x is 1.2x. 200 times 1.6 is 320. We isolate the x by dividing by 1.2. So we get x equals 266.7 kilometers. So, maps are another place that you will see scale drawings quite often, and people will use maps to determine distances between different places. You are now ready to try your practice for this assignment.